going to start sketching in perspective now, but without drawing the horizon line and the vanishing points. So it does make it a little bit trickier and leaves a little bit more up to your imagination, because you've not got that X for all of your lines to converge into. So as we start drawing a cube, we know that we always start with that front edge. And then from the top and the bottom, we'll be going to an imaginary vanishing point somewhere around here. So you've just got to imagine that point in your head and tend to remember where that is. So if we start drawing our ghost lines, and remember, always draw your lines longer than you actually want them. And our next ghost line going in there as well, okay? So you can see I've not extended them all the way to this imaginary point, just past the length that I'll need in the end. And that's quite important. So if I rotate my page around to make it easier for me to draw the lines, my next vanishing point is in line somewhere around this point, and it can be off the page over here if you want to, but for me, just here is absolutely fine. So I'm going with my ghost lines and drawing that in there, and you can just check your work by looking at them and thinking, are these lines actually converging? Are they getting closer? If they're parallel, it's not quite right. We're not going to have that dramatic effect that we want from the perspective sketching, so we'll rotate this back round. The next part then is cutting off the edges to create our cube. So we've got now the two sides of our cube. This one's going to the opposite vanishing point, which was around here, but again, we don't have to keep remembering exactly where it was. We know that when we draw this line in, these two lines should be converging very slightly, and then it's the same the other way. So I'm not even going to try and think where my vanishing point was too much, but I'm going to make sure that these two lines are slightly converging. And we looked at in the previous tutorial what happens if the lines converge too quickly. The box looks skewed and a little bit strange. So you can see now, without drawing the horizon line and the vanishing points, we've got a cube. So in this next one, we're going to shorten these lines very slightly. I'm going to just draw another cube. So starting with my front edge, and then going a top edge. The bottom one's going to converge very slightly. This side as well. Just making sure that we remember that they are converging. Cut the sides off. And then go again this way. And go again this way. Okay, and you can see we've got our cube with all of our lines drawn in, all of our lines converging. And I'm going to draw another one as well. So my third one down in this space down here. So a bit scribbly there, sorry. Vertical line in, and then we've got the top, the bottom converging slightly. Rotate the page. Let's the bottom and the top in there as well. Chop the ends off. Nice and vertical when you're doing the ends. Quite a few people make the mistake of putting that line in quite angled. Okay, and the other line may not be vertical either, and I'll show you the difference that makes to the cube at the end. Just making sure our lines are converging ever so slightly. And you can see now that this cube, when we rotate it back around, this face looks very sloped, okay? And that might be design intent, but at this stage we want to start by drawing really accurate cuboids that we then create our shapes in using that crating technique that we looked at in the previous tutorials. So one more cube, just to check that we're really confident at creating this vertical line, top, bottom slightly converging, rotate, top and the bottom slightly converging, put the ends in nice and vertically, and then we're going to the opposite sides from the top corners. And we have our 4 cubes now, all drawn with no horizon line, no vanishing points, but they are still accurately drawn in perspective. And what we're going to do is just recap now very quickly how to present these really well. So we know that we're going to thick and thin line them, so that's really simple on these because it is very quickly about darkening the outlines. When it's a simple cube or a cuboid, it is just the outer lines that are darkened up. So you can see the difference that makes to this cube over the others straight away. And then if this was a page of design ideas, these two may be linked. And so I'd use a landing box to link them, and these two may be linked. So I'd use a landing box to link those two ideas. So what we'll do then is, using our ruler technique, we're going to draw our landing box in. And I'm not going to make it too wide or too big because it'll take too long to hatch and to fill in. And I don't want that. I just want a simple shape that is making my other shapes stand out, my actual cuboid stand out. And I'm only going to scribble in this one now. I'm not even going to do it with cross hatching. I'm literally just scribbling inside the shape to up to the lines, okay? So we're scribbling in there just like that. And I've got my landing box then that's just helping make them shapes stand out and linking them together. Okay. If we were to do a square hole in the side of this cuboid now, again, with no vanishing points, we can still do it quite easily. So our vertical lines remain vertical. We'll make that gap nice and even. Okay. From the top and the bottom, we're going this way. And this line is going to be very almost parallel with this line. They converge very slightly, but because they're so close together, at this stage it's probably best just to keep them quite parallel. So we'll draw that in. Ghost lines first to get it as accurate as you can. And then this one now as well. Ghost lines first. Chop off the edge over this side, and we have our square drawn on the side in perspective. We then want that to project through this way. So we wouldn't see this corner because you're looking through the side. We wouldn't see this corner looking through the side. We wouldn't see this corner because you're looking through the top. And this one we would. So we're going to project that corner up this to this vanishing point. Okay, so ghost lines in first to check it's in the right direction. And there you can see we've now got a square hole going through our perspective drawing. So if we now do our thick and thin line technique, and if you get in the habit of doing this for all your design ideas, your design pages really start to stand out and look very, very neat. So we've done that, and then using our spider rule, we're going to figure out this inside, and what you end up with is just these two edges here as being a little bit thicker. Okay, so we now have lots and lots of skills in drawing in perspective without using the horizon line or the vanishing points. Good luck.